I can.
You really could.
But isn't it easier if you just take hands
snatch somebody else's?
some unsuspecting stranger, and then if you size them up and you say, I think that size might work, and then it works.
Boom, just snap. And the guy's naked. He's walking around nude.
That's his problem. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, the Spurs are rolling, a Doc Rivers rumor, and the Raiders win a big award for the Khalil Mack trade. But we begin today with the end of the Bryce Harper highest paid player in baseball era, which lasted about an hour. Harper was left in the dust by the news that Mike Trout, the best player in baseball, has decided to stay with the Angels. Trout will take $430 million over the next 12 years, which is $36 million a year, shattering all records for total contract and yearly pay. Wilbon, is this a good deal for the Angels and a good deal for baseball?
I don't care about baseball. It's a good deal for the Angels and for Mike Trout. They are entering into the agreement, the Angels and Mike Trout. They keep him in Southern California. And for baseball, yes, because baseball, it's one of its most important markets has to be Southern California. And it's not just the Dodgers, it's the market. So, yes, it's good for baseball. But more importantly, Mike Trout, he went out there and said, you know, Bryce, it's very nice of you to recruit me to come to Pennsylvania.
That's right.
You got that covered, I'm sure.
That's right.
Oh,
yeah.
$430 million.
Tremendous.
He has to be jealous of no one in professional sports for the next 8 years anyway.
So you have to look at the people who lost in this, and one of them is Bryce Harper.
He lost?
Because Bryce Harper said, I'm going to bring
less.
Mike Trout home.
Right.
Okay, and Scott Boras lost. The mythology of Scott Boras being able to get the best deal for anybody in town, that is now out the window. Now let us deal with these specific questions here. Is this good for the Angels? You think it's good for the Angels, but Mike, he's been there 7 full years.
Yeah.
They played 3 playoff games. They get the best player in baseball, but they spend so much money that I don't know how much money.
Things.
Yeah,
they operate
I don't know.
What is Southern California as a market? Is it bigger than New York or second? Is second, I guess?
I don't know. The Dodgers are the biggest team by far.
Okay, but Tony, they're not a poor team. They're a rich team.
That's right.
By virtue of paying this contract, you know that. So go out and either develop or acquire some other talent quickly.
Well, I'm saying that they spent all this money on him. The other question is it good for baseball? I don't think it's good for baseball, and I'll tell you why. What's good for baseball is what's good for basketball and what's good for football.
I disagree with you.
Free agent drama. Yes, where's he going? Who's going with him?
Baseball's not the NBA.
This is gone now.
I tell you,
no drama anymore.
I tell you and the oracle of this show all the time. Stop trying to make one sport like the other. Each sport has its own culture.
Free agent
that belongs to the NBA free agent drama. Where is it with baseball?
People talking about your sport.
You know, Tony, there's no enthusiasm
12 years,
for that.
It's over
Bryce
now.
Harper, there was no juice for that. He ain't LeBron, and neither is Trout, who could walk down Fifth Avenue and nobody would know him.
I don't think it's good for baseball because it eliminates that drama.
Stop. There's no drama. Let's go to the NBA, Tony, where there is drama all the time, and get into perhaps the least talked about interesting team of the season, the San Antonio Spurs.
Oh, the drama's killing me.
In 8th place about a minute ago, the Spurs won their 9th straight game last night at home over Golden State to jump to 5th. DeMar DeRozan, LaMarcus Aldridge, Rudy Gay, guys you've heard of, had good games. And a 4th guy I'm sure you've never heard of, point guard Derek White, who could have been 5th on Pop's depth chart when
Could
Camp
be
began.
Betty White's grandkid. I don't know him.
Anyway, what's the bigger story here? Spurs winning or Dubs losing?
The only significance of this game is San Antonio winning. As you say, this is their 9th straight win. On the way to 9, they've beaten Golden State, Denver, Milwaukee, Oklahoma City, Portland, and Detroit, all in the top 6 in their conferences. The Spurs are now good. They are officially good. The Warriors on this road trip did exactly what they said they wanted to do and had to do. You've been saying for 2 months now, the 2 teams that could beat them are Oklahoma City and Houston. They went out on the road, beat those teams. So the Spurs game meant nothing to them.
Well, it meant something to them because they're now in a tie with Denver. And I think what the Warriors want, Tony, at the top of the Western Conference is they don't need it. Okay, but it's a little different. And suppose the 7th seed, I tell you, the team that could give them trouble and extend them in the first round, which can make them vulnerable for later rounds, could be San Antonio. And San Antonio, as I said, is in 5th.
They're not going to finish 8th.
If the Dubs finish second, they'd be playing the 17.
Well, this is the 5 team.
It's a game that separates these teams. Nothing separates 5, 6, 7, 8 in the West. Nothing separates
right now, this is a very good team. Can attention?
I agree with you, by the way. The headliner here is San Antonio. Tony, you thought this was the year that Pop would have so many disparate pieces he wouldn't be able to put them together. You said that in November.
Hold on. Well, for 1 second. The San Antonio Spurs have missed the playoffs 4 times in 45 years.
Amazing, isn't it?
They have missed the playoffs once in the last 30 years when David Robinson got hurt and then they drafted Tim Duncan. Nobody else has anything like this.
No.
And attention needs to be paid to them, and they're not finishing 7th or 8th. They're going to go up from here.
Okay.
According to Peter Vesey, who has covered the NBA for almost 50 years, who we know well, Doc Rivers has always wanted to coach the Lakers, and Magic Johnson would give him that job. Wilbon, you know Doc and Magic so well you can call them Glenn and Irvin. Do you see Doc leaving the Clippers for the Lakers?
Tony, the things you said, quoting Peter Vesey, and you know them to be true, about always thinking I'd love that down the line somewhere, even as he coached the Celtics to a championship. Yes. Are the Lakers
Well, Luke
covetous?
Walton is not going to be their coach.
Are the Lakers covetous as they look down the corridor of Glenn Rivers? Sure. But I think there's some things in the way here, and I'm going to mention 2 of them. One, there are people in Southern California right in that environment telling Doc, you don't want to do this. And one of those reasons is simply LeBron James. I mean, he's been told by people, and I know this, LeBron didn't want to be coached.
He's never wanted to be coached.
He's never been coached by somebody with that kind of personality, command, authority, acumen, intellect.
He has rejected that.
He's rejected it.
Yes.
And so Doc is being reminded of that by people. The other reason is the Clippers are not looking at the Lakers thinking we're going to be subservient to them. They're looking at the free agent class thinking we're going to get us some of that, and we're going to add those pieces, whatever they are, to a playoff team. So the Clippers are not thinking of, Jerry West is involved with the Clippers now. They're not thinking of themselves as the little brother anymore, which they've always been.
Even though they actually still are.
Sure, okay.
The Lakers are the most important sports franchise in Los Angeles, more so even than the Dodgers. They are the most important. If you're Doc Rivers, you live in Los Angeles. Nothing really changes in your life. Your commute is the same. The building is the same. You probably get a better parking spot with the Lakers. You still play golf at Bel Air.
Yes.
and you are with the most glamorous team. I agree with you about LeBron. I would ask you this, because to me, this is the critical question. Can and will the Lakers attract better free agents than the Clippers? If they don't, you don't want the job.
The question is, do you want to go in the 17th or 18th, I lose track of the number of years LeBron will be playing by next year, as great as he is, he's on my Mount Rushmore of basketball.
That's
he's on yours
important
too.
honor.
Do you want, if you are Glenn Rivers, at this point of your career, to have to deal with that? And maybe it's a great challenge. Maybe he would look at it and say, you know what? I'm not these other guys. I'm not like the rest of the boys in the band. LeBron and I can get together. We can do this. But I don't know. Nobody knows that yet. What do you think?
I would think that if you can coach the Lakers, that's a good place to be.
Tone, for most of us who pay attention to pro football, and to everybody who pays attention to the Chicago Bears, and that includes Doc Rivers.
Includes you.
The monsters swindling of the Raiders for Khalil Mack in July changed the entire NFC and by itself revitalized the Bears. But analytics people, most of whom I find utterly loathsome, don't see it that way. The analytics community, led by my dear friend Daryl Morey, who I like tremendously, saw fit to not just praise the Raiders for their stupidity, but reward the Silver and Black the Alpha Award for Best Transaction. Tone, just to be contrarian, you act like you understand analytics or you like analytics when you don't. But go ahead and tell me why this makes so much sense to you, giving the Raiders this award.
This story is not about me. This story is about you. This is very personal about you. You have killed the Raiders for the Khalil Mack thing more than anybody else I have heard. You have killed them. And now your Northwestern boy, Daryl Morey, who, by the way, invented the analytics conference, invented this award, and personally called the Raiders to tell them they won this award. Daryl Morey, who you say is too smart to fall for analytics, and yet is Mr. Analytics. This is about you, because he thinks, and he won the award last year himself for getting Chris Paul.
Well, look at is there a difference between the Rockets, who came one pulled leg muscle away from perhaps getting to the finals, and the Raiders? Is there a difference between them?
Mike, John Gruden now has 3 number 1
I don't care
picks.
about who he has his
He
picks.
has cap space, which allowed him to get Antonio Brown and Trent Brown.
Okay.
He could be a contender by the
Maybe.
time they actually move to Las Vegas.
Maybe.
And Daryl Morey recognizes this. And all you do is scream that analytics people are, to quote you, loathsome.
Listen, I go overboard intentionally. with that.
Really?
You think I'm sad about Khalil Mack? You think I'm going to lead a movement to give him back to the Raiders
no.
after the Bears got a doink from being in the next playoff round? Are you
wasted
kidding me?
one full
So they
year
wasted it.
because of
Khalil
Cody
Mack didn't
Parkey.
waste it. Let me listen to me clearly. And Daryl, who I will call
You have
when it
no
shows up,
number 1
listen
pick for
to
2
me
more years.
clearly. Anybody who would rescind the trade, except the Raiders side of it, for Khalil Mack to Chicago is an idiot.
Daryl Morey did.
Daryl Morey's not an idiot.
Oh, he just
Anybody
did.
else,
He
because
made
he
him
got
an idiot.
Chris Paul.
Oh, you made him an
Anyone
idiot.
else, including
Chris
you,
Paul, like, whoa.
including you,
Wait.
would be an idiot.
He got Chris
you would
Paul.
not get Chris
10 minutes ago on this
What?
set, you said, stop comparing sports. So stop comparing
You brought it up.
sports.
You opened the door,
The
counselor.
Washington Post, where we used to work, is reporting that baseball is experimenting with a new way to avoid sign stealing at the National Spring Training site in West Palm Beach. Pitchers and catchers will be allowed to wear special watches that will transmit the pitch call and the pitch location from the catcher
This
to the
is so
pitcher.
stupid.
No more finger wagging signs. Wilbon, tell everybody how much you love this.
This is stupider than the last story. This is like the Jetsons. Remember we watched the Jetsons in the 60s?
Yeah.
And by the late 90s, everyone was supposed to be in a jetpack. And there'd be no more traffic. Remember the jetpacks? You just take off. You just fly.
Well, they're sort of
there's
like
no Beltway.
like
there's no Schuylkill.
flying
There's no
segways,
Dan
which
Ryan.
also didn't work.
You know, I mean,
yeah, didn't work.
This is the dumbest thing. So you're trying to speed the game up, but yet you want pitchers. No, guys will have endorsements.
This is what we're doing. I'm not shaking off the sun. I'm not even looking. I'm looking at my watch. The game gets slower. What happens when the Russians hack into the watches and then there's collusion and then you need Bob Mueller? What happens? This idea isn't simply stupid. It is insanely stupid.
It's otherworldly
I
dumb.
love that we're talking about it.
Why?
It's insanely stupid. It will slow down the game.
Because as soon as somebody's watch goes out, they'll say you have to shut down the phones in the dugout.
Slow
because
down
all
the
the
game.
electronics
It's
are done.
just-
And by the way, who would be the official watch company?
I don't know, Rolex, Timex,
I
something
know,
that ends in
in my
EX, I
case.
don't know. Let me look in the camera and say this. Stop.
Please.
Seriously.
Stop. Exactly.
Let's take a break. Coming up is your boy John Morant under pressure to perform in the NCAA tournament.
Same as anybody else. Sure, he's great. And as LSU or Villanova, we're likely to go out early. You watched John Morant. You a believer now?
I saw him in one game. I thought he was very good. Against Belmont, I believe, right? Was it against Belmont? Yeah, I thought he was very good. Daryl Morey's going to call you immediately.
I'm going to call him.
This kitchen, open concept, complete with a modern art gallery, and the master bath, masterpiece. A home gym!
What's up? You know the competitors, legendary columnist, honorary doctor, television superstar Tony Kornheiser, and Wilbon. What's first?
Toss up, who's facing more pressure on Thursday, John Morant or Marquette?
The answer is John Morant because he's been the unknown lottery pick all year. And now for the first time, people are going to, that don't even know where Murray State is, are going to be able to see him. There's no pressure on Marquette because they gassed at the end of the year.
They lost five out of six.
They lost 5 out of 6, so that's sort of meaningless. If John Morant gets taken out, that's bad for him. But if he plays well, then that justifies the hype.
The pressure's on Marquette to stop John Morant so they can try to advance. And John Morant averages, listen to this number in college, 10 assists per game.
Yeah, he's number one in the country.
Legendary number
That's
for
right.
college assists.
Number one.
I mean, so, and he can
Eighth
also
highest
score.
scorer.
He can put 35 on you. You
That's
saw him
right.
hit 38 last
Yeah.
week. The pressure's on Marquette to defend this kid. And I know Howard at Marquette has scored 50
Marcus
more
Howard.
than once.
Yeah.
And he's a terrific
But I think
player.
the pressure's
By the
the other way.
That might be the best matchup of the first
Next.
Toss up, scarier number 2 seed, Michigan or Michigan State?
Well, you're locked into Michigan State
I am.
because you have predicted in your bracket
They
that
will
Michigan
win
State will
the
win the
national
entire tournament.
championship.
I'm going to say Michigan for this reason. Michigan State has to play Duke. I think if that game happens, I think Duke would beat Michigan State, whereas Michigan gets to play Gonzaga, and I think Michigan would win that game. Michigan can beat anybody in this tournament except Michigan State, where they're 0-3.
So what does that mean? What are
That
you doing?
Michigan is the scarier number 2 because of who they get.
Okay, Michigan State's the scarier team because they're better. And you know what? Both of these teams have great coaches.
Yeah, they do.
They have great coaches.
Izzo and Beeline, they're great.
I'm taking Izzo. If you ask me to line up all the coaches in college basketball right now in terms of who could give his team an advantage in a regional game or even just late in an early round game or Final Four, other than Mike Krzyzewski, and right there with him shoulder to shoulder, I am taking Tom Izzo.
He's won championships.
Absolutely.
Next.
Toss-up more likely to go out on Thursday, LSU or Villanova?
So LSU is playing Yale. Villanova, the defending champions, are playing St. Mary's in Hartford, Connecticut, which is so far away from St. Mary's that St. Mary's is not going to have any crowd there. It would be a smaller upset if Villanova went out. It'd be a much bigger upset if LSU went out. LSU's got real talent. But LSU's coach at the moment is coaching a school I like to call
weird
parts unknown.
Weird situation.
Okay, where is this guy? Yale put 96 on Harvard
You're
the
gonna
other
pick
night.
Yale outright? We're not talking about against the spread like you like to do.
Averages 81 points. I'm saying that would be the monumental upset because they don't have a coach, LSU.
Wow. Tony, Villanova could go out. I mean, I haven't gotten enough credit yet on this show for picking last week. Definitively.
I gave you credit.
No, that was on your podcast.
People
I want
listen.
credit on this show.
Here's credit
for
to you.
St. Mary's
You got
beating
it.
Gonzaga.
You got it.
And I'm rooting for my man Jay Wright now. That's who I'm rooting for. But St. Mary's could take them out.
Next.
Last one, toss-up who you got in tonight's play-in, Fairleigh Dickinson or Prairie View A&M?
So I must confess that I am not that familiar with the oeuvre of Prairie View A&M, which I believe is the locals call it, they call it the View. I do know that they once lost 80 straight football games. I don't know that that's relevant here.
It's not.
Fairleigh Dickinson, when I was in high school, I know it's in New Jersey, we referred to it.
It's near I-95, so guess where he's going?
We referred to it as fairly ridiculous.
I heard that.
Okay? But
What
they
town
also
is it in?
shoot 40% from three.
Yeah.
So I am going to pick them. Also, because Ziggy Wilf went there, which could be a sweet and ticket situation for me with the Vikings.
Well, all of my life, it was just called Prairie View. So the A&M came later. They were 1-11. They played a non-conference schedule that was tough to prepare them for this. They lost a lot of places like Baylor, Georgia Tech, and Murray State.
Yeah, you go
But then they went 21-1.
So you're picking
They've
them?
won 21 of the last 22, and they are not near I-95.
No, they're not.
Houston is not near I-95.
No.
So you know what?
You're picking them.
I'm taking Prairie View.
It's geography-based, everything you do.
Yeah.
This is over. Victory! Let's take one last break. But still to come, can Blake Bortles turn around his career with a year on the Rams?
And how should Adam Silver feel that both LeBron and the Freak are sitting it out tonight?
It's not
One
good
game,
for ticket buyers.
Lakers at Milwaukee.
Oh, that's really not good for ticket buyers.
This is not Kareem returning to Milwaukee, though.
No, that's the only game LeBron will play in Milwaukee all year.
Yep.
Oh, that's not good.
Not playing it.
Friends, do you think that your bracket can beat Wilbon's?
I doubt
the one
it.
the intern will fill out in my name? Well, then sign up for ESPN's Tournament Challenge at ESPN.com or download the app and search for the PTI group. Now let's get happy. Happy 31st birthday, Clayton Kershaw. Best regular season pitcher in Major League Baseball over the last 10 years, has been in the news lately for being unable to pitch. Will not make a start on opening day, breaking an 8-year streak. But the Dodgers say Kershaw has been doing bullpen work and his arm looks good. Mike, hard to believe the Dodgers can make the World Series again without him.
It is, Tony. And if anything, perhaps this will lead to just a good late start. It's okay to be a late bloomer, right? Even a season.
Sure.
And the Dodgers can ride Kershaw on the back end of the season into the playoffs.
Happy anniversary, Isaiah Thomas. On this day 5 years ago, the 5'9" Thomas became the smallest player in NBA history to record a triple-double. 24 points, 10 assists, 11 rebounds for the Kings. Thomas achieved greater fame, however, with the Celtics. Last night, coming back to Boston with the Nuggets, the Celtics finally unveiled their video tribute to their once best player. Afterwards, Thomas said, quote, "Boston feels like home." Unfortunately, there's no home for him in the Denver lineup. He's been told he's out of the playoff rotation.
When I heard that made me sad. I mean, Isaiah Thomas has just had more misfortunes. It's not like he did anything to anyone or himself. Injuries, man.
Happy trails, Phil Martelli. St. Joseph's fired the 64-year-old Martelli today after 34 years at the Philadelphia school, 24 as head coach. Martelli's best team was the one in 2004 with Jameer Nelson, Delonte West, and Pat Carroll. That team was ranked number 1 and flirted with an undefeated season. However, the last 3 years, Martelli 41-55 and didn't make the NCAAs.
Remember when they were still undefeated, we had Phil Martelli on as a guest?
Great fun.
Terrific.
Great
Rooted for him.
2 corrections. Tom Izzo, 1 championship, not multiple championships. And Yale put 97 on Harvard last week, not 96. Wilbon gave me very bad info. Quickly to the big finish. Dirk passed Wilt on the all-time scoring list. Big deal?
Anytime you're talking about putting a basketball through a hoop and you're on a list with Wilt, that's oh happy day.
Yeah.
Blake Bortles will back up Jared Goff for the Rams. Is that a good spot?
If you're a quarterback and you can play for Sean McVay, that is a good spot. Martellus Bennett will not be coming out of retirement to join his brother on the Patriots. Are you disappointed?
Despite the stupid hype at the time, I never thought that was going to happen. I didn't. Both LeBron and Giannis are sitting out tonight's matchup in Milwaukee. You okay with that?
You know I'm not okay with this. I
neither.
yelled at Pop about this. They have one chance to get a ticket to see LeBron this year in Milwaukee, and now they don't get
Well,
it.
he's got his bag growing. He's injured.
Last one, 11 seeds Temple and Belmont in the late game. He got in this game.
Oh, you know I'm taking Belmont. I mean,
You got Belmont. You got him.
I got Belmont winning 2 games.
Yeah, you got him
We'll
going.
see how that goes.
Yeah.
I'm not rooting against anybody else. Temple. Just
We're out of
Belmont.
time.
Like the.
Trying to do better the next time, and I'm Tony Kornheiser.
I'm for the little school. Tony's always for those big conferences.
Yeah, like Binghamton.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, knuckleheads.